What's up, y'all? We ain't close enough. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today, the topic is hot, and you already know. If you walk into this video, baby, you are not leaving the same. Today's topic is how to reshape your self-concept by doing it scared. Let's get into it. We all have ways in which we give ourselves permission to do things. There's usually a subconscious list that we run through in order to determine if we feel like doing something or if we're going to choose to do something. And oftentimes, if being afraid is in that list, it's not happening. Let's just be honest. Being scared is a bodily sensation. It's something that feels unfamiliar because we refuse to teach ourselves what it feels like to hold fear and to do it anyway. Familiarizing ourselves with fear gives us power over it. When you practice doing things even though you're scared, not feeling fear stops becoming a requirement. And when that shift happens, you become powerful, extremely powerful. And you begin to witness yourself stand in that power. And that is evolutionary for our self concept. It changes the way we feel about ourselves. It changes the things we're willing to tolerate because we know that we have the capability and power to create things even when doubt is present. Ask yourself, how many decisions would I have made if not being afraid wasn't a requirement? What would I have possibly gained from those experiences? So in this video, I am promising immediate results. And it's not clickbait. I'm promising immediate results from doing it scared. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to be diving deeper into how this is actually true. Contrary to popular belief that it takes a long time to see results from putting in the work of doing certain mechanisms to grow ourselves. First off, let's get into our self-concept. Let's briefly dive into what a self-concept is in the first place. Your self-concept is rooted in three things. The first one is trust. Trust is when you see something being fulfilled that you desire. You start to build trust when you see that you can accomplish things that you set out to accomplish. And that trust is built on evidence, the second cornerstone. Evidence and proof is what your brain needs to form a concept around something. It needs to see it in real time in order to form that belief system behind it. And the evidence that you have about yourself, about what you have done, what you have accomplished, and where you are so far, feeds your brain a storyline that connects to what it thinks you're capable of and how you view yourself. And those two things, trust and proof, forms your belief about yourself. Let's get into evidence. Your brain needs a reference point, something to look back on and hold on to in order to say, this is real, this can happen. I see a small amount of it, that means there's more of it. Because once something exists in a micro form, there's guaranteed a macro form of that. Everything is scales. For example, if your brain sees that you can make a cupcake, your brain now concludes that the possibility of you potentially making a cake is much more likely since it already has a small evidence of you baking successfully. If you think about the negative ways that you view yourself right now, if I ask you why you thought that way about yourself, you'll often start to list off all of these experiences or things or proof as to why you feel that way about yourself. And so what we're trying to do here is to orchestrate that same amount of evidence and proof, starting from smaller steps. We're starting to give ourselves more proof of why we can choose to believe something different, a different story about ourselves. One of the first misguided approaches to handling life that we usually lean on is that we should wait until we feel ready to do something. But oftentimes, what we categorize in our brains as ready means feeling no resistance or no fear. And that's not realistic if we want to be able to accomplish the things that our hearts desire. The true antidote to fear isn't removing fear, it's becoming familiar with what it looks like, building a relationship with fear that no longer makes it feel like a non negotiable. And this doesn't start with cognitive functioning. This isn't about creating enough logic to pin fear down. It's actually about allowing your body to become familiar with the texture of fear, what it feels like to hold fear in your nervous system, to hold fear in your body while you're doing something, what it feels to regulate after feeling that fear, witnessing the fear pass, witnessing yourself, witnessing the emotional high from doing something while afraid, witnessing the feelings dissolve and watching how they change. That is the evidence that your body and brain needs. Not a bunch of videos, not a bunch of consuming things that aren't actually facing the fear. The videos are step one, but it comes from you actually doing it. I don't want you to just jump out there and try to do the thing that is your biggest fear. I would recommend, which is so much more powerful actually, doing something that you're not terrified of. Doing it in a small dosage. and being very mindful of what is going through your body as you do it. And don't immediately try to fix it. You know your window of tolerance. So I trust that you can be able to guide yourself where you don't overwhelm your system. But I'm telling you right now that it does not matter how small it is, as long as you can feel the sensation of what it feels like to do that thing that is challenging, difficult, scary, uncomfortable. As long as you can do that thing, you are en route to unlocking the parts of yourself that are no longer a stranger to fear. With that being said, what is fear anyway? Fear is actually, let's get a little bit of incense going on in here. Okay, how does it work? Fear is unknown, the unknown. It's not having enough information to calculate or accurately predict what something feels like, what sensations in your body will feel like by doing something. The only way we stop fearing something is if we experience it and we're like, oh, that's what that feels like. Oh, that's no big deal. Or we're like, yeah, that's exactly why I was scared in the first place. But fear has a sense of intuition to it as well. It has discernment. And the more that you become familiar with fear and what its different textures feel like, the better your discernment becomes to where your nervous system trusts that fear in itself isn't a non-negotiable. It isn't something that you have to say, okay, yeah, now that I feel this fear, it's definitely a no-go. You now have, intel on being able to judge if you are feeling fear that deserves to be listened to, and adhered to, or if you're feeling fear because of the stories and old beliefs that are playing in your head and in your body. And oftentimes, we think that we're afraid of doing the scary thing, but more often than not, what we'll really discover is that we're really afraid of fear itself. We fear fear. That's the golden nugget. We fear fear itself. When you're no longer bound by fear being the reason to not do something, you become extremely powerful and autonomous and courageous in ways that your brain doesn't fully know what it feels like yet. You become less controllable by people and things that use fear in order to keep you bound. You start to become impressed with yourself in ways that you didn't realize were possible, and then your body starts to crave more of that feeling. And oftentimes we don't realize that our body helps us. Our body loves to help us. And so when you gently expose it to realities that are uncomfortable but tolerable, and they give you a rush that isn't typically accessible in your mundane day to day, your body craves that feeling and it gives you the dopamine to start to carry these experiences out. And if you really think about it, for something to be impressive, doubt has to be present, because the act of being impressed in itself is feeling surprised by odds being stacked against something and watching it happen anyway. You can't be impressed without doubt. Oftentimes, when something works out for ourselves and we're like, oh, I did not think that was going to work. And then you get this rush of dopamine, this rush of, positive feelings and sensation flowing through your body. And the more that you experience that feeling, the more that your body will start to become familiar and used to it and expect it. And so now you have your body and your sensations pushing you towards your goals rather than you doing all of this mental exercising to try and acquire your goals that way, which is you have another part of you that could be pulling some of that legwork if you just start to slowly take those tiny dip your toe in the pool. And speaking of dipping your toe in the pool, I want to use a metaphor to get you to understand, familiarizing yourself with fear a little more. If you're afraid of swimming pools, making the water disappear in the swimming pool isn't going to suddenly take away your fear. What actually reduces the fear is slowly becoming familiar and acclimated to what the water feels like on your skin, how deep it feels, sensorially standing up in the water, what it feels like to move in different positions in the water. And the more evidence that your brain collects from being in this situation, especially without you being harmed, like actual harm coming to you, the more that your body starts to learn to trust the experience. So as you can see, it wasn't removing the component that made you afraid, which was the water. It was becoming familiar with the component. And that's the logic that we want to remember and keep at the forefront of our minds. Now, another really important cornerstone to conquering fear is feeling accomplished. Being able to feel accomplished is really going to be heavily dependent on you removing what you value from societal expectations. What I mean by that is it's important to disassociate from the popular mindsets behind why people value something. For example, if you want to become a content creator and everybody values the numbers, everybody values being super popular, you train your brain to think that feeling success and accomplished will come from the numbers, it will come from the popularity, it will come from all of these super high expectations that everybody idolizes. What you do is you rob yourself of what you're actually gaining by facing the fear of posting alone. So instead of you celebrating your body experiencing, facing the fear of posting one video, something you've been afraid to do for a long time, you focus on the fact that the video didn't get any views on your first upload. And you rob yourself of the amazing accomplishment of doing something that you waited years to start doing, posting your very first upload. And so what we want to pay attention to is one of the biggest thieves of our progress when it comes to trying this out. And I don't want you to make that mistake. I don't want you to make the mistake of not being able to witness the sensation of facing your fears in your body and slowly acclimating that evidence. I don't want you to stifle that evidence by focusing too heavily on what others deem as success. Because then all of the work, the hard, precious work that you're putting in, will be reduced to fluff. And we don't want our energy going to waste. Our goal here is to start to build and to see things quickly, because I want to believe that, like I said earlier, results are immediate. Literally, the results happen the moment that you put your feet in the water. And it's just about whether or not you're paying attention to what's happening. It's different than working out in the gym. When you're working out in the gym, you have to wait weeks before you can see those micro changes. But when it comes to emotional internal work, the good thing about that is you can witness it firsthand and nothing is hidden from you. And I think that if we take advantage of that, we'll see ourselves evolve much quicker, because the act of paying attention and being aware of it in the first place is fueling that experience. It's giving that experience more momentum, more force. I can actually start to benefit from what I'm investing in firsthand by simply paying attention to it and being mindful of what can drown out that experience. So instead of you being focused on how your body feels after investing in a fearful moment, you're flooding your system with disappointment because it didn't do the way you think it should have. Why are we wasting our energy? Please. No. That being said, measuring your sense of accomplishment should always start from you as the reference point. And I'm going to give you a metaphor and an example to help you connect that reality once and for all. A baby's first steps isn't the same as an adult's first home purchase, but the value of it is the same. A baby has never walked before. There was doubt that balance would be present. There was doubt that their ability to stand straight up from with their posture would be functional or possible, but they didn't. The first time homeowner has never owned a home. They don't know what it feels like to be a homeowner, and it was done. So give yourself the same freedom and ability to enjoy your baby's first step as the person that bought their first home. Please. This is your story, your movie, your life. And it doesn't star whoever you're watching, whoever you're comparing success to. You're the star in the movie. The only one. You better live it. Okay? So yes, doing these things will guarantee shape your identity in real time. You have to remember that you are exactly who you say you are. No questions about it. Okay? And the more that you make those specific decisions, you experience that reality shift right then and there. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.